Swendeman, I know we're a day late. We usually do this on Mondays. It's the 2 Minute Drill podcast on a Tuesday, and we have a special guest. If you listen to E Street Radio on SiriusXM, you know Jim Rotolo. Jim, welcome aboard. It's great to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. So, Jim, right off the bat, I'm just going to ask this and get it out of the way. You know, a lot of artists will come out with the lost tracks, maybe one track, maybe two track. Maybe they'll go crazy and do an EP. Where did Bruce decide to find 7 albums worth of music to say, hey, here, everybody, and then wait, hold on. As an added extra bonus, we'll have 5 more coming. What? Did he just decide, well, you know what? I have all this stuff laying around. Let me make 12 albums now in 2025.
Right. Well, you know, this box set that's coming out on June 27th. This is tracks 2. So this is the second go around of stuff that's been laying in the vault for who knows, you know, but this go around, this box set, with the exception of the 1983 LA Garage Sessions, most of this music was recorded during that hiatus of the E Street Band. So it's the 90s into the 2000s. So, you know, Bruce said it himself. A lot of people thought in the 1990s I was, you know, not doing anything. And it turns out there's 7 albums. So he was kind of busy.
One of the albums you just referenced, and that would be the LA Garage Sessions. And that, along with Twilight Hours, those are the 2 I'm really, really looking forward to. I've told this story on the air before. When Bruce handed over Born in the USA, when he brought it to Columbia Records, they kind of held their collective breath because, Jim, and you may know this story, they were convinced that they were getting Nebraska version 2.0. So imagine their surprise when they get Born in the USA. So I'm really looking forward to what did come between Nebraska and Born in the USA, which is what these songs from LA Garage Sessions are.
Yeah, there is a bunch of songs there. He was sort of in this period where he wasn't quite sure himself. You know, Nebraska was done and it was out, and it was the fans accepted it. They liked it. It was critically acclaimed. And he was happy with that, but he was also sort of happy with where he was going with Born in the USA. And in between, he just decided to rent this house in Los Angeles and just kind of continue writing and recording along the lines of what he did with Nebraska. He did add a synthesizer, so some of these songs, there are some. Well, there is a version of My Hometown in this box set, which is different from what you get on the final Born in the USA album. So you could kind of hear what he was doing at that time period. And, you know, any one of those songs could have ended up on Born in the USA if they were probably recorded with the E Street Band. So that's where he was. Yeah, it's a real interesting album because it's, you know, it's that time period, you know, Nebraska into this mega album that comes out a few years later.
I've seen a couple of interviews, read a couple of interviews, one in the New York Times, and then there was one in Rolling Stone over recent days. And Bruce was talking about how ambivalent he was about Born in the USA. And I'm thinking back, Jim, like that's not my memory of that time in his career. My memory is that he and management had decided we're going for it. We're close. We've had a big hit single with Hungry Heart. We made some concessions on The River. We sped Hungry Heart up like they used to do on AM radio, you know, years ago. So he had made a concession or two. This was where he was going for it all. And for him to say he was kind of ambivalent, that's not the impression that I got.
No, it wasn't either. It wasn't until I read that, I think in his autobiography, that he, you know, this wasn't the album that we all championed and loved, you know, post Born to Run and all the other albums he did. You know, he didn't have the same kind of feeling as his, you know, his fan base did. I guess because he wasn't quite sure where he wanted to go. I think when you figure that what he did after Nebraska and all those songs from the Garage Sessions, you know, I think he was sort of in that place where I'm not quite sure if this is the right move for me at this point. But obviously it turned out to be the best thing he probably ever did for his career. But yeah, I know it is quite a surprise that he's not in love with that album as much as we are with it.
And one of the other things that strikes me about that period of his life is, okay, he goes for it, he gets it, And then maybe because of who he was, maybe because of his own, I don't know if integrity is the right word, but artistic sense, let's call it that. His own artistic sense, he does Tunnel of Love, which is a left turn. And Chris, you and I were talking about this album beforehand. For me personally, Jim, that's the album. There were always songs that I would go, wow, this is great. But
Yeah.
Tunnel of Love was the album where I go, I get it now. I understand what all of this hoopla is about.
Yeah, I mean it's a very personal record, as we know, and I think he made it a point to make sure that he did not write, or the next album was Born in the USA too. I think he wanted to get as far away from that as possible. I mean, there is a lot of synthesizer on Born in the USA as well as Tunnel of Love, but obviously the songs, the meanings of those songs, it's all about relationships, love and romance and things like that. And, some of it's from his own personal life and what was going on at that point with him. But the production on that album is absolutely amazing. I mean, the title track, Tunnel of Love, is such an incredible song when you listen to it. All the different layers of music that goes into that song. Just really, it's I always do this game on E Street Radio of trying to rank your top 5 Bruce Springsteen albums.
Good luck.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
think about it. Think about it this way, guys. 1 and 2 are easy. Those are the easy ones because you have those drilled in. 3, maybe you have 3. 4 and 5 are the hardest because what do you leave out? And a lot of times that I ask people this, the first album I bring up after they complete their 5 is, what about Tunnel of Love? And they go, oh, yeah, I can't leave Tunnel of Love out, So I think that album holds a deep meaning to a lot of us, but I think it sometimes gets overshadowed by all of the other great work that Bruce has done.
Chris, what was it about that album, Tunnel of Love, that attracted you so much?
I think it was just the different sound. Like it wasn't the E Street Band. It wasn't everything I had been used to with Bruce. And you just tilt your head. It was kind of like that dog moment where you go, like you tilt your head and you're like, like it's different, but it's still Bruce. And it was just the sound, like Tunnel of Love, like the video for me and it just says Jersey. Like it just, for me, it was just everything you love about Bruce, but different, but not, if that makes sense. Like, and that for absolutely, if you would have grilled me on it, it would have been in my top 5 for sure, Jim.
Yeah, it's just and I like, Chris, that you said that it is New Jersey, but in a very different way, especially the music videos. I always think back to the music videos, in the Wonder Bar in Asbury Park and, the boardwalk and all of that. And I don't know about how the rest of the country can, takes that into, but we do, and it's very special to us.
Oh, the moment I saw the Glory Days video, Maxwell's, and then the baseball stadium, Miller Stadium in
West New
Weehawken,
York.
where I had played it.
I did too. I did too. I grew up the next town over, so I played high school baseball and football on that field, and and to see Bruce, and I remember, being a kid, and that it was on the local news that they shut down the whole street, and there were police cars and everywhere because they were filming that video at that time. It's great. 85.
I remember, I apologize, Jim. And I remember they had to, so many people showed up at Maxwell's. I was going to school in Hoboken at the time, in grammar school. So many people, and we knew a lot of the cops at the time, were friends with my parents and things like that. They had to get him into, an officer gave him his coat and his hat to get him out of Maxwell's because there were so many people. They had to disguise him to get him back out after they shot the video. It's just one of those stories. Where were you when Bruce showed up here? I'm wearing a shirt that literally says, I heard Bruce might show up. Because where else would I wear this shirt right now? But I mean, it's just one of those amazing stories that, like, Bruce, I wanted to ask you this, Jim, actually. You mentioned in the 80s and early 90s, he was in LA, comes back. He's still got his ties to St. Rose of Lima Church. He's still got his ties he goes to Jersey Freeze in Freehold. He goes to all these different places that he grew up with as a kid. The fact that he's still tied to Jersey, is that what makes it so much more special for all of us collectively as a group from New Jersey than when, say, he goes to play Dallas, Texas? or, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like nobody gets it like we get it, right?
Yeah.
Is it because of that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because he's one of us, and he's not somebody that became a rich rock star and moved behind a gated mansion and didn't want to, be around people anymore. He wanted, he you can find him at the diner in Freehold. You can find him at many different places, driving around on his motorcycle or in his car just around the Jersey Shore area. I mean, that's what I think people love so much about Bruce, is that he's humble, and he'll stop and he'll take photos with you. He's not traveling with bodyguards. He's not. You can find him at a store somewhere. A few years back, he recorded some music with John Mellencamp. He invited John to come to New Jersey, and the two of them would go to this local cafe every morning. And John was just amazed that the two of them can go sit there at a little cafe table outside, and people would just wave. And I think it's what's so great about that relationship that he has with his fans is that he can wander around New Jersey, and his fans respect him and respect his privacy. If they have an opportunity, they'll ask for a picture. If he can do it, he'll do it. If he can't, he can't. But I find that very special, and I don't know how many other musicians have that kind of relationship with their fans.
No question about that. Absolutely no question. How much of these 7 albums, Jim, have you had a chance to listen to?
I've been through. I'm gonna show it to you right here.
Oh,
Ooh,
here you go.
Nice. Show and tell, no less. I love it.
I picked it up. I was able to get it yesterday. I don't know if you could see it there. It's kind of blurred in my screen there. But yeah, this is the vinyl box set. I've been through all of them. Jim, you mentioned Twilight Hours. That's one of my favorites as well. I'm also really enjoying the Streets of Philadelphia sessions. I think because there was this rumor that always existed of this, this Beats record that some people said it was a hip hop record. Some people said it was a dance record that existed in the mid 90s. And it was always this like legend, after Streets of Philadelphia and Secret Garden. So I always wondered what the rest of that album sounds like, and now we have the opportunity to hear it. And it's not all that way. It's not all beat driven and kind of dancey or whatever you want to call it, mood music. But when you listen to it, the characters and the songs that Bruce writes about, it's very dark. Things don't work out right kind of songs, and Bruce writes those very well. And he just sets it to different kinds of music in this one. So I really dig in Streets of Philadelphia as well as Twilight Hours, which I just want to add. Twilight Hours was sort of the companion record to Western Stars.
One of my favorite albums of his.
Yeah.
Mine too. And it was talked about being released as a double record. They're not the same, though. I could see why he didn't release Twilight Hours as a companion or a double record with Western Stars.
I think he said, Jim, that one album was kind of his tribute to Jimmy Webb, and the other was his tribute to Burt Bacharach.
That sounds about right, yeah. And when you listen to Western Stars, and then when you listen to Twilight Hours, you can definitely hear the two influences on those.
I just played Sunday Love this past Sunday morning on my All Mixed Up show on WDHA and was blown away. I mean, it's Bruce as a crooner.
Yeah.
And he even said, he could imagine somebody like Sinatra singing it. And I've thought about now in recent years how some rock artists have ventured into the Great American Songbook. You had Pat Denizio do a couple of songs. Glenn Frey did a whole album of it. Rod Stewart has done a couple of albums of the Great American Songbook. Van Morrison has done it. Mark Tremonti. I don't know if you've seen his Sinatra show. It is
unreal.
I've heard about it. Oh, I want to check that out.
Blown away, Jim. Absolutely something you must see.
Mark comes out and says, I took my father-in-law to see him, first of all. Who is he? He's a heavy metal guitar player. And I'm going to like this. Pat, you're going to love it. And he comes out and he said, we have to do everything in our power to keep this music alive. And the audience ranged from teenagers to, people my father-in-law's age. It was amazing. But I'm wondering, how much of this Western Stars, Twilight Hours, do you think is because Bruce is getting older and he's getting a little bit more, I don't know, if philosophical is the right word, about the music and the influences?
It's a good question, Jim. I'm not quite sure. These songs were mostly written and recorded, I would say, around in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. Yeah, I don't know if he still wants to write in that style. I think that's something that he wanted to do at some point, like we mentioned Jimmy Webb and that California pop sound of Burt Bacharach and people like that. And I think he likes to go into different phases. Don't forget he did a whole album of Pete Seeger music. Back in 2006, it was something he wanted to do. The thing about Bruce is you can never really predict where he's going and what he's doing. I mean, just to go back to this Tracks box set, the Somewhere North of Nashville album was recorded at the same time as The Ghost of Tom Joad on the same days. So, and I asked him that when the last time we had our interview. I said, how do you just shut one side off and go to another side? Because Somewhere North of Nashville, for the most part, is a rockabilly album, and it's a full band. E Street Band members are on it. Gary Talent plays bass, and I think Danny Federici's on the keyboard on that album. But that was sort of a let's blow off some steam, because The Ghost of Tom Joad is touching on some heavy subjects, and he would record Joad at night, and then during the day was Somewhere North of Nashville, and they just did it together at one shot in the studio, 3-4 takes, done. Next song. That's how they did it. So to answer your question, I'm not sure where he goes next from here. I mean, there could be 3 albums coming. There could be 5. Who knows?
Well, we know there's 5, and then there's a solo album, and I guess a tour and what have you. You mentioned speaking with Bruce, and if I'm not mistaken, this Friday night you have him on the show in an extended interview.
We're going to air the interview Friday morning. It's
Okay,
going to
Friday
be
morning,
at 10 a.m. East, 7 West, and we'll replay it, and then we'll have it on the app so you can hear it anytime you like.
If you had to pick one moment that really, really stood out in the conversation with Bruce, what would it be?
I think it would just be that because we did talk about Streets of Philadelphia, and I asked him about why that didn't come out, and he gave a really great answer as to why he didn't put it out. But then I asked him if he had any regrets on any of it, and he had it. Unfortunately, it's an audio interview, so you don't really see the visual. But he did stop and kind of like think about it, because maybe nobody had asked him that, but it just came to mind. So to me, that was a personal great moment for me. He does reveal some things at the end of the interview, which is pretty interesting about what is coming sooner rather than later. I think it's been mentioned in other media outlets, but I'm not going to reveal it until you hear the interview.
Okay, I think both the Times and Rolling Stone may have mentioned it.
Yeah.
He's currently on tour in Europe, and I know Steve Van Zandt have appendicitis.
Yeah.
So I mean, there have been health issues all along. Just a couple of years ago, Jim, there was a noticeable change in what was happening, and I guess maybe it was after Letter from You came out, and he's dealing with aging and death, and I guess a couple of the band members ended up with COVID, and we know what's been going on with Patty, and then Bruce had the peptic ulcer, and you're looking at all of this, and he even changed what he said at the end of his shows. The E Street Band loves you, not we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
The E Street Band loves you. And more than one Springsteen fan who I spoke with said, I think he's calling it quits. I think this is it. Did you ever get that impression?
No, he did say in Philadelphia last summer, he said, we're not going anywhere. This is no farewell tour. And he said something like, and then the crowd started chanting, Bruce. And he said, why would I want to stop hearing that? Something along those lines. I mean, this tour, the one that's in Europe right now, when that's over in early July, that's it for the year. He has said that publicly. The E Street Band's going to shut down for a little bit, which everybody, I guess, could use a little break, a little time off. See what happens next. I just think Bruce Jim, I think you might be aware of this. You as well, Chris. These artists that get to this age, if they're healthy enough, you notice they're not stopping. I mean, Roger Daltrey said in an interview a few years back, he said, "I can't stop singing now because if I stop, I won't be able to do it again. I have to stay at that your muscles. I have to stay at that level." And I feel like Bruce is at that point where he just wants to keep going. When you get a little older, you start to think about time. It's a lot about letter to you. And so does the E Street Band and Bruce get together and go out on tour again in a year or two, or maybe 2 years from now? I'd like to think so. I'd like to hope so. And I like to hope that everybody's healthy. So far everything's been, an appendicitis here and a peptic ulcer and COVID. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. That's not. Those aren't the worst things as you get older. Everybody's still physically in really good shape, and they Max is always keeping up his chops on the drums. So, the best thing I could tell you is cross your fingers and hope for the best. But I don't think they want to stop. I don't see any signs of them stopping.
You mentioned Max, and just a few weeks ago, PBS during one of their fundraisers ran footage from the No Nukes concert, a lot of which I had never seen before. And I was locked in on two things. One was Steve Van Zandt, who's kind of the musical director. I mean, that's what they call him now. He was even back then before he had the title. And he had some funny comment recently about that. But you watch Steve, and then you look at Max, and Max is glued to Springsteen. And any footage that I've seen now from the current tour, Max is still locked in. Max told me once, as a matter of fact, that they're never sure what Bruce is going to do next sometimes. And while they're following more of a set list these days, back then, he said, "Jim, there was a night where Bruce counted off a song and we had no idea what it was." Now, for Max, it's easy because he hears the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he can just do that. But everybody else is like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. I mean, I've spent many a Bruce Springsteen concert just watching Max for 4, 5, 6, even maybe half of a concert because it's just so fascinating to watch him. Like you said, Jim, his eyes don't leave Bruce at all, no matter where Bruce is on the stage or if he's out in the crowd. He's just locked in on him. And yeah, I mean, when the set lists, when all the wheels came off and they were just kind of doing almost Bruce was pulling signs out, it's almost like Stump the Band. Max just kept a beat going, I guess, until the rest of the musicians in the band looked at each other and said, "Oh, okay, we have it now, and then we can just kind of jump in." Yeah, Max is the best.
There's that footage, I think it's from Germany a few years ago, where they're trying to figure out what key to play that Chuck Berry song. "C'est la vie," say the old folks, goes to show you never can tell, and they're trying it. No, that's not it. And they keep working their way up until they get comfortable with it.
Yeah, so you think about it, Jim. All these years later, they're still like a bar band. They're still like figuring it out as they go. I think that's what's one of the things that makes the E Street Band so incredible, especially during that period when they were really just kind of letting loose and people were bringing signs, and sometimes the signs were really. I remember being in Giant Stadium and somebody actually held up a sign for Paradise City. And I was like,
Wow.
yes,
Wow.
I'm all in. I want to hear that. Obviously, it didn't get played, but it's so fun watching all of the band just doing what they do. It's a great time.
We are looking forward to the film that'll be out in October, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Chris, I know you've seen the trailer. Your thoughts?
I really think Jeremy Allen White. At first, Jim, obviously you're going to tell us what you think about it, but when I first started watching it, the first couple clips, I looked at him in the Camaro and talking to the used car dealer, and I'm like, so Al Pacino is supposed to be Bruce Springsteen? Like it looked weird. But then as the trailer progressed and you see him get on stage in that late 70s, early 80s look of Bruce with the black on black. And I was like, and then all of a sudden you see him do the jump. And I was like, he's got me. I'm sold. It looks like he nails it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Chris. I was nervous about this, to be honest, because, playing Bruce Springsteen, how do you pull this off? Yeah, it takes a certain person, a certain talented actor to do it. And Jeremy Allen White is that guy. He's a tremendously talented actor.
Yeah.
But, you try to put it in your own head and say, how does this work? How does he do this?
Yeah.
Is he going to sing? Does he going to do all the band stuff? Does he play the guitar? How are they going to make all this work? So I was nervous about the trailer because you saw the photos online and that was okay. But I said to myself, and I said to friends of mine that are Bruce fans, the trailer is going to decide whether this film sinks or swims. Because if he doesn't pull this off in this 2-minute clip, people aren't going to check this out. But after seeing the trailer, I'm all in. I'm excited about it. He did a great job, just getting the mannerisms down and just all of it. That scene in the car dealership. It's exciting. It's exciting. I also mentioned today on the air. Go back to that trailer because I know we were all watching to see what Jeremy Allen White would be as Bruce Springsteen. The actor Jeremy Strong is dead on John Landau. It's in the trailer where he's talking to the record label.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm excited about this film because I just can't wait to see all these actors playing these different parts.
Yeah, I know. I will say this, that my first job is in Freehold, and they were shutting down streets left and right to shoot this over the winter. And there was just a buzz in town because of the movie being shot so close. So I am really excited to see this now, especially after the trailer. I mean, Jeremy really looks like he did a great job with this.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see like the concert scenes as well, and also just the recording of the making of the movie's about the making of the Nebraska album. It's a very dark time for Bruce, and I'm just curious if we're going to just see Jeremy Allen White sitting on the edge of a bed or a couch with a guitar and like singing those songs, for like Highway Patrolman or something like that. Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting time.
The one thing that got me from the trailer, and I hope they leave it out of the movie, is I believe it's John Landau saying that after he's done fixing all of this, he's going to repair the world. It's too Hollywood. I'm hoping that line is out of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't forget, these films have to be, they always have to Hollywood up them, I don't know what you want to call it, but make them give them more pizzazz so they kind of sell these films. I mean, how true is this movie going to be to the book? I don't know. We're just going to have to find out. So you might get some lines like that in this film. We'll see.
You're referring to the Warren Zanes book, of course.
Yes. Delivery.
I'm actually just reading his book on Tom Petty. I'm about halfway through his book on Tom Petty, which is really good.
Oh, cool. Good. I have to check it out.
So we call this podcast the 2-minute drill. And so as we wrap this up, we'll do kind of a lightning round.
Right. How many timeouts do I have in 2 minutes?
You don't get any, and you get a lifeline.
And you can't phone a friend.
All right. Even if I get a first down, the clock keeps running. All right. I'm in. Let's go.
Favorite Bruce Springsteen album?
Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Why?
It's the first album I heard. It's the first song I ever heard. I can go longer if you like. The line of the song, "Now I hear she has a house up in Fairview." I'm 10 years old. Fairview is the town right next to where I grew up in North Bergen. So I was like, this guy knows where I live. And I looked at the album cover, having no idea who he was, and I thought he looked like Fonzie.
Favorite Bruce Springsteen song?
Well, there it is. Darkness, I would say. It has to be that. I've heard it acoustic. I've heard it with a full band. I've heard it with the Seeger Sessions band. And it always brings a smile to my face because without that song, this journey would have never have happened.
Favorite concert you've seen Bruce in?
Ooh. It was his birthday show at MetLife Stadium. It started the day before his birthday. There was a 2-hour rain delay, so the show didn't start till I think 10:30 at night, and it ran till 2 a.m. So when it became midnight, it became his birthday on September 23rd, and he just pulled out all stops. I mean, he just went into his entire catalog and played whatever, and it was just such a great night.
Of the 7 albums that come out this Friday, your favorite one?
I'm going with Streets of Philadelphia Sessions. That will probably change in a couple of hours when I listen to it again. But that's what we're going to go with that answer for now.
So this Friday morning, check out the interview, Jim Rotolo and Bruce Springsteen. You can check it out on E Street Radio on SiriusXM. Jim, thank you so much. It's been great catching up with you. You and I run into each other every so often at different shows, but it's been great to sit down and have an extended conversation with you.
You as well. And you too, Chris. It's great to meet you. This is, I love
Same
this.
here.
I love this podcast. I'm going to spread the word, let everybody know to check it out.
It's the whole
Thank you
idea.
so much, Jim.
All right. Thanks for having me,
Exactly.
guys.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.